I've seen some comments lately where people are saying, VG, I don't even know what the heck I'm going to do. Why is Xbox doing this to us? What have we done? How do they expect for us to go ahead and not only play a classic, but also somehow marry that with the proposition of Claire Obscure Expedition 33 coming out in the next 2 days? This is insanity. Let me go ahead and explain to you what you have on your hands. What you have on your hands is a first world problem. It's a first world problem that was always inevitable. It was going to show up. When Xbox went ahead and purchased Bethesda, it was only the detractors that were making noise that tried to hide the true legacy between, the relationship of Xbox games and Bethesda as a whole. They never envisioned that at some point somebody would think through getting games like these to not just Xbox players, but everybody, so that they may stampede. According to one of my audience members, he said the reason that they stampeded to go and buy this game, which is Oblivion remaster, on the PlayStation Store is because this is actually one of those games where, number one, pricing is great. One of the reasons pricing is great is because there are multiple ways for the game to earn a bag. On Steam here, the concurrent users for Steam has shown to be over 170 or so thousand users, which is quite impressive for a game that showed up on a somewhat shadow drop on a Tuesday, which is it's just wild. It's just insane, right? And so it seems to me that the game is gaining a lot more traction than anybody would have imagined. Now, again, some people are shocked but not shocked. It's an Oblivion game. What exactly did you expect? But again, what exactly did anybody not talk about when they knew that Oblivion was sitting in the hands of Xbox? And they saw in the FTC trial that there was an Oblivion remaster being made. Is there a Fallout remaster being made somewhere? There have been claims to that effect. What is that going to do? Is it going to have a similar or even gargantuan effect? Perhaps. And if it comes that direction and that way, then I can see how anybody who, is thinking about the Xbox thing is already, trembling in their boots as to where the heck they're going to find time to play these games. I told you all that games were the most important thing. There is not a single person in the last few days that has seriously thought to themselves, I wonder how many more consoles PlayStation is going to sell. I haven't seen the person. Even if they go ahead and say, well, what is Xbox doing that's so impressive? Everyone is like, we don't have to tell you. You can just look at it for yourself. Then you have the side of Nintendo coming out with a new console proposition in this climate. Oh man, they want to sell you a Zelda game for $70, $80 in some instances or some cases if you're buying it on the Switch too, right? They want to charge you for all of these things, but Xbox is bringing value to the table that I cannot believe my eyes. Neither can I believe that there is any time to be able to play this plethora of games. New, old remastered. I mean, what is it that you may be thinking? Because all this while, all I could hear was, Game Pass is just doesn't have games that I want. I remember that people were saying this stuff, and I said, okay, well, if it doesn't have games that you want, then I guess good, you can find those games elsewhere, right? You can find the games you want elsewhere. And a lot of people said they said on this channel that the games on PlayStation were the games that were much more, important to them and were interested to them. Only for us to find out that once these Xbox games crossed over there, they then became important and interesting to them. Now, what they're doing is, or what they're seeing is, they're sitting on a storefront with games that are available to Xbox gamers with multiple options, whether they want to play on console via Game Pass, buy or play via PC, or if anything, another proxy of people who dial into Xbox's stuff, they play on Steam. This is a value proposition that pretty much opens up gaming and is consumer friendly. If exclusives, and I want to point this out to all the people who were shouting about exclusivity being important and those talking about how exclusivity brought, quality games to the gamers. If quality over accessibility, and this is to Nib95, if that was the thing that actually did sell these games and made the popularity, this and this and this, why did PlayStation fanboys or PlayStation fans stampede to go buy this Oblivion game on their platform? Xbox could have just said, well, for the sake of quality, We want to go ahead and put it on our own platform so that we can blah, 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 blah. But because games being accessible is the exact way to serve the gamer, gamers are responding to it. They're responding, not just responding, but they're responding a lot to it. And so expect more stampeding with games like Doom and Tony Hawk, and Ninja Gaiden hadn't even come to the table when it comes to what Xbox is doing. Now, that's even in the first party realm. If we look at the third party partnerships and what's coming in the next quarter, we're not even talking about Wu Chang. We're not even talking about some other titles. In fact, if Xbox stopped here right now, they'd be fine. They'd be fine for the end of the year and even the next year, because they could easily just say, hey, have you beaten all those games? And you'd probably be like, no, I haven't beaten them, because this is just crazy. It's insane. In fact, now, all that talk of people saying, oh, you know, this third-party game's going to Xbox and they're not making money and blah, blah, blah. I'm telling you, these developers are probably hustling to get their games into Game Pass, because Xbox is building such a library now and using legacy to the point where at some point getting into Game Pass is going to seem very tight for a third-party developer, because what you're going to have to deal with is you're going to have to deal with something like this, where they have games and Xbox is going to prioritize its own games. Don't get me wrong, they already gave you the bag ahead to come to Game Pass. You better be thankful that you can sell on PlayStation and everywhere else. They're not going to stop you. They're not going to hamper you, but beware. You know, games are going to be shifting all over the place. And behold, they're not going to tell you everything. They're going to shadow drop games on your head. So you better get your marketing right, because your Game Pass is not going to be a guarantee. So you better get that marketing going on PlayStation and Steam and Epic Games and everywhere that you can sell your game, while you hold that Xbox Game Pass bag, and make sure that you can basically hold off and weather any storms, because it's just insane now. It's insane. When I made a video, when I said my criticism, I made a video a while ago. I said my criticism to Xbox is that they are not dropping enough games on PlayStation. Boy, did I make a mistake. I think somebody maybe watched that video on Xbox and took it personally and said, who is this idiot? I was like, it's me, VG. They were like, what did you just say? I said, well, you're not dropping enough games on PlayStation. They're like, we dropped 12. And I was like, well, it's not enough because you have a PR issue. They were like, really? I was like, yeah, you got a PR issue. You're dropping all these games and these fanboys are still mouthing off. Some of them fomenting fake articles. What are you going to do about it? Xbox was like, what do you say to me? I said, what are you going to do about it? He said, what do you say to me? I said, what are you? They said, shh. They just started dropping the games. It just became insane. It just became insane. And so now, has anybody heard about PlayStation in the last week? Has anybody heard about Nintendo in the last 48 hours? I didn't even think that Nintendo was going to basically get the back burner, press treatment. But here we are. Xbox is making the news waves now, and what they've done is they've used their actions to go ahead and fortify their position as the platform that is pro-consumer, the platform that wants to meet the player where the player is, the platform that wants to bring games, and the platform that wants to let you know that your platform that you prefer to play on is an Xbox if you should choose to make it an Xbox. What is this that I'm seeing? Top 10 games in my country. What was that? What was that you said? Oh, yes. The top 10 games in my country. Do you know what game is now in the number one spot? Yeah, this game. See, this is no longer a conversation that can be ignored. I still see people sitting there and talking about the console war. I'm like, sir, ma'am, you're not in 2015 anymore. A decade has since passed since your console war was very important to you. If the consoles that you're bragging about selling more copies is a vehicle to make more money for the other console holder, there are two possibilities that you can see. The short-term possibility is that everybody makes money, everybody plays games. The long-term possibility is that that person that's been supplying games and providing the best value of those games on their platform is going to poach your users come the turn of the generation. Do you really think that people who love these games or who play these games are all going to sit on PlayStation and enjoy these droughts and spend money on Xbox games while Xbox players are paying $10, $15, $20 a month to be able to play a plethora of these games? Do you really think that? I don't know. But I don't really think gamers are that dense to sit there and not look at value and consider it. Even if they don't move, the fact that their dreams are going to be haunted by the fact that their guy on Xbox is eating good is already a problem for PlayStation. See, you don't want your audience, your customers, to ever get a feeling of dissatisfaction, because that's how it always starts. The seeds of dissatisfaction can get sown, and at some point at the turn of generation, somebody might look and say, man, you mean to tell me that there's going to be another Elder Scrolls remake? You mean to tell me there's going to be another Indiana Jones game? You mean to tell me they're going to make another Forza game? What are you trying to tell me here? You mean to tell me that I can play all these third-party games that are all here on this platform that they're selling for money? I can play them for a subscription fee where I don't have to spend all the money and I can buy whichever one I want. No commitment required. I am not satisfied with what I'm getting. That's all that needs to start happening and fomenting in their minds. And before you know, people start to think differently. I'm not saying they're going to all run to Xbox. Don't jump in the comment section and start bothering me. I'm just saying that they're going to think it. In fact, the fact that you would even tell me that they're not going to think it means you're thinking it. And that's where we need to start. People are starting to think. That's already perfectly fine with me. That's it. Man, I can't imagine if they would just even think more and then land on a PC. Bam! Oh, you know what? You know what happens there? Oh, I need to stop. Let me just leave. I'll bow out. Hopefully we'll talk pretty soon in another one. Peace out.